Again. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the last. I don't know if you know this, the last of the Manifest Like a Master classes. And the reason I decided to do that is like really all the basics are there. Actually, more than the basics. You're going to get, it's going to be good tonight. A really good culmination of everything we've been learning. And one of the things that I recommend, well, first of all, we have almost 300 people who have been watching the videos, and some people are doing repeats, which is really good. And I highly recommend that once you get through this one, that you take a moment, let it all absorb, and then go back. And what I want you to do is start at one because you're going to hear it a completely different way, completely different. And what happens is that, especially after tonight, there are some perspectives that I think are very important to hear. And again, once you let it sit, all of a sudden you're gonna be like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. And when you go back and start at the beginning, things will shift even more for you. So let's get right in. One of the things that I had, just a moment, I just need to admit a couple more people here. There we go. One of the things that I had been talking about is this idea of finding the true you. And at class number one, I said, you think you're manifesting this, but the reality is you're actually manifesting you. You are in the process of finding the true you. And this process, everything that we've been going through, if you're sticking to it, if you're really taking it serious, it is going to shift you. Tonight is going to be so much about bringing everything that you have learned together. I want to acknowledge this man. This man is Chase Hughes, and he has something called the Code. And it is unbelievable what he has done. Since he was a kid, he has been studying 190 sacred texts. It is crazy. Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish, Islamic, Taoist, Gnostic, Egyptian, Mayan, Hermetic, Confucian, Sumerian, and indigenous. I mean, and this doesn't even cover the quantum physics that he studied. He has had a passion for it since he was a kid. And I'm going to tell you, this is a very spiritual man. This is someone who truly understands and had a calling. And this calling really led him to try to understand all these texts. And what he came to from studying all these texts all of his life is this. He said, I came to understand that there were really a total of five truths told in all of the ancient texts, in all of societies. And they are all saying the exact same five truths. And I want to say something about this because I have said this for years that when you're an authentic psychic, what happens is that you bring in the exact same thing as another psychic. We will say sometimes even verbatim because we're not bringing an idea in, we're not bringing a thought in. We are open up to source. We are listening. And what is happening is that we are channeling wisdom and information. These five truths that he discovered, they were perfect for culminating everything that we've been learning, everything that we've been manifesting. You're going to see manifesting in these truths. And everything that I've been saying is right in there. Now, these five truths have been in all of these. I'll show them again for you. All of these different sacred texts, 190 different sacred texts, had the five same truths. And you would ask, well, if they all have the same truths, why don't we just know this? Well, they weren't hidden. They weren't like mystical or being poetic about things. They were just trying to describe the indescribable. what they were trying to describe, there you can't use a human language for. You can't use a human language for an understanding that is way beyond the human. So it's beyond the human brain. We're going to go through these five truths, and it is going to cover things like, remember when I said everything we do and say is manifesting? Everything that comes out of your mouth is creating. What your thoughts are creating. What your inner beliefs are creating. What your intentions are. What you're feeling about who you are is creating. Thoughts are things, and they are every thought you have has an effect. Remember when I said that? It's true. Remember when I put this up actually a couple different times, maybe a few different times? And I said, you are like a big movie projector. And you want to imagine there's a big light behind you that is showing all of your thoughts and your feelings and all of your beliefs and everything that you are manifesting. All of you is being projected out into this world, and everyone, they don't consciously see it, but they respond to you accordingly. Accordingly. Crappy people show up in your life to teach you a lesson because your energy said, I hate narcissists. They take all my power. And what does the universe say? Hey, they need a narcissist. Let's bring them. Or I don't love myself. Somewhere inside, my younger me's don't love myself. My wise woman might, my wise man might, but my younger me's don't. So you're going to bring in people in your world who reflect the pain you're holding from childhood until you heal. Okay? Manifesting is the same way. If you have a fear of something, or if you desperately want something or desperately need something, it's going to be projected out into the world, and you're going to bring back exactly what you are projecting. I also said, be in the now, be present in this moment, and you're going to hear about this in the five. Don't think about what you want. And don't think about when you're going to get it. Don't put it into the future. Release attachment to the outcome. Release, surrender, and let go. And this is what I truly say. Show up as this beautiful, amazing soul having a human experience with forgiveness and non-judgment and self-love. And you can't help but be abundant. You can't help it. I also said, you're changing. You are changing. And your ego is going to have a fit because it wants to keep you in pain. It wants to keep you looking for love and acceptance and worth and value outside of you. And it is going to have you resist change, and it's going to feel dysregulated, and it's going to feel unsafe, and it's going to want to stay where it is, and it's going to want to distract you. You know, it's not safe to be wealthy, to be seen, to be heard, to be valuable, vulnerable, and to be safe. And so you have these two roads in front of you, and you have a choice to make. You want to follow the dark ego, or do you want to follow the light inner truth? You have a choice because all that you're doing here as souls is having an experience to find pure, unconditional love. So let's get into it. Here is truth number one. You're not separate. This is nothing new for us, right? You know, you're not separate. You never were, you never could be. You are connected to everyone on this planet and everyone who has passed on. And since there really is no time, I don't know if you want to get into this, but you're also connected to your past lives and your future selves. Okay, there is everything is connected. You're connected to the trees, to the animals, to the air, to the furniture. You want to know how you're showing up in life? Look at how your car is showing up. Okay, your car, your environment is a reflection of you. You are actually connected to your environment. This understanding that you're not separate is the foundation of growth and change. It is the foundation of manifesting. Quantum physics, physicists say everything is one field that is fragmented by your perception. That's quantum physics. I'll say that again, really absorb that. Everything in existence is one little field of existence that is fragmented by your perception. We're going to talk a little later about quantum entanglement. That also comes in here with being not separate. So, poverty feels like separation. Loneliness feels like separation. Illness feels like separation. Failure feels like separation. Rejection, God, that feels like separation. Depression feels like separation. Self-rejection feels like separation. A difficult life feels like separation. And when you stop and you realize you're not separate, it's like you can't, these things that feel like separation, they leave your life. You know, I said something to a client once. I was when I was in California and in my healing room, and they said, you know, talking about how, you know, they were just not good enough and all these things. And I said, you know, what makes you think you are so special that you don't get to be a beautiful, God-centered being too? What makes you so special? And he stopped and he looked at me and he's like, I I don't know. You're not different. You're part of this beautiful field. You're a unique soul, right? But you're part of one. It's amazing. Do you remember the story that I told about the blue mist? And this was my an out of body experience I had also at that same healing room in California. Man had asked me, you know, did my mother bring my girlfriend to me? Because that'd be just like her. And next thing I knew, I was gone. I was out of my body. I was flying in the universe, and I saw this mist, and I saw there were little points of light in it, and each point of light was each one of us. One little point and speck of light was our consciousness. And I watched how it was like a flock of swallows, and they would dip, and they would sometimes just do small movements, but everybody was in sync with each other. And it was amazing. And this deceased mother told me, yeah, no, I can't bring him his girlfriend, only he can. Wow. So you are orchestrating a reality with everything else in existence. And I know that can be an overwhelming thought, but every action and reaction and thought that you have is creating. Here's truth number two. Fear is a lie. Love is the truth. I'm going to swear. Sorry if you don't like it, plug your ears. But the ego that is all about fear is a big, fat, fucking liar. It is. It's a liar, liar, pants on fire. Right? The fear is the operating system of this reality that we live in. Okay. It's like an operating system. The ego is in charge so that we jump into our lessons. Because if everything is going well, why change? So we jump into the ego to learn not to love ourselves, to think we can be separate and rejected until we come back home and we wake up and we realize, oh my God, I've always been an amazing soul. Wow. Fear says you're not enough. You're in lack. You know, you're not accepted. You're not loved. You're alone. It is that operating system that keeps you asleep. Okay. Love is the frequency that wakes you up. And it is self-love and self-forgiveness. That's not egoic. That is just beautiful compassion, self-compassion. You are abundant, wealthy, healthy, wise, loving, loved, and accepted. That's the truth. That was in all of those ancient texts. I will post an actual video that talks about these five truths, and he gives quotes from all these different ancient texts. It's really a beautiful video. Truth number three, your mind is not a camera that is taking snapshots of your world or observing the world. It's a projector. Sound familiar? Yeah, we've said the same thing. I didn't watch his video before I said that about the projector. Okay? That your brain doesn't record reality. It creates it. So if you want to know why ancient texts constantly promote meditation and stillness and looking inside and surrender, right? Getting in nature and being quiet, it's because your mind needs to quiet enough to actually find out the part about truth number two. Love is the truth. You are amazing. You are connected. The only thing standing between you and freedom, and I mean freedom, my mantra, I put it on here. I move freely and creatively within this world, and I have all the money to do it. That is my mantra. The only thing standing between you and that type of freedom is the part of you that believes that you are not free. It's the part of you whose operating system is still based in fear. Fear you're not going to be enough. You're not going to have enough. You're not going to be loved enough. That's the fear. I have alluded to this many, many times in these classes, and it is something called the double slit experiment. And I thought it's time that I really explain this in a little more depth because it is absolutely a proof, although scientists don't quite say that, it really is a proof of manifesting. Okay. In this experiment, what quantum physics discovered is that observation changes matter. Do you remember when I put up on a screen, I think it was in class three, it was Words on Water by Dr. Masaru Emoto. And he had taken some polluted water and he froze it and put it under an electron microscope and it looked like a sick disease. And then he gave that same water the intention of love and said a prayer and took that water, froze it, put it under an electron microscope, and it looked like a beautiful synchronistic a snowflake. It was gorgeous. And that is the double slit experiment. That is the observer effect. What you are intending towards something or what you feel is being manifested. It changes matter. It changes reality. Okay. And so I want to explain this experiment. In the double slit experiment, what happened is that scientists took a board that has two slits in it, and you can see it on the screen. And they took a light and they shone it behind it, and they because there were two slits, what happens with the light is it's kind of like ripples of water. If you take two stones and you drop them at the same time into water, you're going to get these ripples, and they get larger and larger, and then they overlap. When they overlap, if it overlaps with light, it actually cancels out the light. If it's not overlapping when they intersect, it allows the light to be present. So you see how on the back of the board, when it's reflecting the light, you'll see these little bands. That's called a wave pattern. Okay. And that's saying, yep, we have two slits and they are overlapping and we're going to get this wave pattern. So if you put six of those, you're going to get a very complex wave pattern. This only has two slits for light to get through. Okay. So when we continue with this experiment, they're like, yep, that's exactly what we thought would happen. That's what happens when you have light. Now, if you have matter, what happens is they took that same board and they put it horizontal and they took grains of sand, aka matter, and they poured it through the slits and they got two piles down at the bottom. That is how matter behaves, right? And they were like, okay, that's right. That's normal. Wave patterns light, matter gets two piles. Then they said, well, let's do this with atoms because we're made up of matter, right? And they said, okay, so let's cover one of the slits, right? And then once we cover one of these slits, let's shoot the atoms through that one slit and watch what happens. Well, they got what they expected. One bar on the back of the one bar of light on the back of the receiver, the receiving board. Now there are some outliers. That's because electrons are electric. They're static. You know, they have electric charges. So sometimes they might bounce off the edge, and you know they've got a little bit of movement, but really it stays in that band. You're not seeing a wave pattern. So what happened is then they said, "Oh, okay, let's do two slits, okay? And we're going to get two piles of sand, just, you know, two piles just like that first one, right?" And they went one and then two, three, and it was shooting between the two slits. And they were like, "What the ever living F?" They got a wave pattern. And they're like, "I no, 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 this is matter, not light. Why? How did this happen? What is going on?" And they were really confused. And they were like, okay, the wave pattern is also known as an interference pattern, in case you didn't know. Okay, so this interference pattern shouldn't be here. We should have two piles. So they were like, okay, okay, let's do this. Let's take and we're going to just shoot one little electron through these slits, right? And it's it and it, we're gonna just get one pile, right? And they're like, they were shooting it through one slit. They were like, okay, okay, why did we get a wave pattern? And what happened is that even though they were only shooting the electrons through one little slit, somehow the atoms seemed to understand that there were two slits and they needed to behave like a wave pattern. And then they're like, what the ever living F, 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 F? I'm sure they said that. So they're like, this is not at all what we expected. And they're like, that's it. We're going to get sneaky. We are going to set up a camera and we are going to record. Okay, now this is where it gets tricky. We're going to record the top slit, and every time an atom goes through the top slit, we'll hear a beep. And every time it goes through the bottom slit, we won't. So they heard beep, nothing, beep, nothing, because atoms were going through the top slit and the bottom slit. And they were like, okay, we're going to get that wave pattern again because that's what it's showing us, that somehow it knows that there were two slits. But everyone was observing the beep on the top slit. And I need to go back here and have you understand. Everyone observing, the scientists were observing two slits. Here, they were not in the room. The camera was only observing one slit. It did not act like a wave pattern. Einstein, even though he didn't do this experiment, he observed this type of behavior with atoms, and he called it spooky action at a distance, and he wouldn't touch it. He's like, I'm not touching that. I'm not even going there. Not even going there. You guys can do that sometime in the future. Not touching it. He just called it spooky action at a distance, and that was it. Well, these scientists were like, no, 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 no. Okay, here's what we're going to do, guys. We are going to set up a camera. We're not going to turn it on, and nobody tell the electrons. Shh, it's a secret. Don't tell. And they shot the gun through the top and through the bottom and through the top and through the bottom, and nobody was watching. And it created a wave pattern. But there was something really interesting that also happened. They found electrons on the side of the board, and they found electrons on the back of the board. And they were like, what is happening here? Those little atoms, by the way, who decided to go on the side of the board and the back of the board, you better believe that is going to be me. I'm not going to follow the norm. I'm going to be the random one. But there are some things that came out of this. What the scientists came to understand is that when you observe something, you create reality. When you think we are matter, we will behave like matter. If you think we are a light being, we will behave like light. There are always going to be anomalies, and I love being an anomaly. And then there's also an understanding of quantum entanglement. It explains this. Physicists have done so many experiments on quantum entanglement. And what it says is when you all come from the same thing, right? And you separate apart, you will be able to communicate with each other. You're always going to be aware of each other's existence, whether you're conscious of it or not in this world. We all come from source. We all come from some amazing place. And you know what? Our little biophotons, I talked about this in one of our classes, the little points of light that we break down into inside of our atoms can communicate with each other. How do you think I'm psychic? I have a hyper aware limbic system. It's just a development in my brain. And I am able to read those biophotons that you have in your body. Our bodies are full of our belief in little points of light called biophotons, and they are splashing out into this world and they're communicating with everything in the world, just like that blue mist. How do you think they move like a flock of swallows? Okay, swallows clearly have a very connected brain that can detect each other very well. They have repeated this experiment of quantum entanglement with things like, yogurt cultures and plants and things like that. And it's amazing. We don't have time here to go into all of that, but you have to understand that the science is there showing that this shit's real. This isn't just something made up. And even Einstein was so freaked out by it. He's like, I'm not touching it, not touching it, because I didn't even know what to make of it. So, you guys, this truth number 3, I want to go back to it real quick here. Your mind is not a camera, it is a projector. It is constantly projecting. And I think if you've watched all 5 of the other classes, you've got it. You've got it by now. You understand that. But I wanted to bring a little proof to you. So let's move on then to truth number 4. The enemy is not the world then. The enemy is your ego, right? Yeah, the ego. It's the ultimate block to abundance. And I want to remind you of something. These truths are from ancient texts. 190 of them all say the same thing in different words. This is not new. Okay? This is the ego has always been present. And I said it already, it keeps you looking for love and acceptance and worth and value outside of yourself. And it needs to have separation. And it lives in these realms of having a hierarchy. I'm better, you're not. I have more money than you. I'm better. I'm betterer. And it loves conflict. It loves recognition. Do you see me? Do you validate me? Do you respect me? Do you honor me? Do you understand me? We don't need to look for that. That's the ego looking for that. Guys, I even wrote a class, I'll post it on my YouTube channel, of the ways that the 5 love languages are actually based in the ego. I don't blame them, okay, but they are. Those are based in the ego. They're our needs, right? They're the ego needs. There's a story that you have built within you to help you survive your fears. And the fear is the foundation of the ego, the foundation. And it never shuts up, never shuts up. I, I, I have to have you understand that you can't you can't wake up into this understanding if your ego is so busy fighting your dream, trying to keep you stuck. And once the ego falls apart, the truth is revealed. Truth is revealed. Sometimes, guys, we need to help the ego. Sometimes our childhood experiences can are built so that you almost can't get to your truth because you're stuck in so much pain. You can't get beyond all of the times that you were put down, or all the times that you were abused, or all those things. Okay, sometimes even though you want to love, your human conditioning has held you captive. And that is why I put those three healers on our Facebook page and had them speak at the end of one of the classes. And that is why tonight I'm going to share another healer with you. She couldn't make it tonight, but because she's delivering a vision board class. So, but sometimes you have to help the ego. And I always say to people, even though I've got a lot of inner wisdom, I always have my team. I had a tarot reading with this woman the other day. I had a session with Rebecca, I had a session with Aurora. I love getting work done because sometimes we can't see our own pain. So I want you to feel into this. How are you supposed to feel abundance? Or how can you find abundance if you have no lack? How can you find self-love if you've never lacked it? How can you find compassion if you've never been judged? So the ego has a purpose. It puts you in lack. It puts you in a lack of self-love, and it puts you in judgment so that you can fight through and find your self-love. If everything is going well, why change? Capiche? And here's truth number 5 that he found in all of these texts. Everything is connected. And we've said it already. I mentioned that with the double slit experiment. I love this quote. This is from the ancient Sufi text. And it said, "The soul is a thread in the same cosmic fabric." We all come from the same place. You can also look at it like this. We all come from the ocean, and each of us are a wave. And the wave will do its thing, and it doesn't realize the whole ocean is there, kind of forgets until it crests, it falls, and then it looks around and goes, "Oh, we're an ocean. Ha! Forgot about that. Sorry, guys. My bad." You know, that's entanglement theory. We have all been entangled in brilliance. And then we chose as souls to have this human experience and come down here and get an ego that's programmed into our DNA to keep us in lack. And then we have to fight through and find that we were never in lack in the first place, just our mind was. And we wake up and remember, oh my God, I'm part of something amazing. I have a birthright to be amazing. I have a birthright to be wealthy. It just comes down to remembering. That's it. Here's a big thing I want to talk about. Those 5 truths sum up everything. And I want you to understand why are we so far away? Why are we not talking about all this? Why were all the ancient texts talking about this? But why are we not now? Why? Why did we get so far away from that? Well, because fear became our culture, right? Here we are. We're all here trying to fill an empty glass, trying to fill ourselves up, and we look for distractions and social media and alcohol and addictions and loneliness has become an epidemic, and we're disconnected from each other. and we compete with each other. It has become, fear has become a global operating system for us. It has. I also want to say, though, from working with tens of thousands of clients, okay, I've got a pretty good statistical analysis of the growth of the human soul, the growth of the human being, how we work through our human conditioning. And what I can tell you is that you're going to go along and go along in the fear pattern with the ego, la, 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 until things get bad enough. And then you kind of hit a bottom and you go, I can't do this anymore. I can't be here anymore. I can't, something's got to change or I'm going to be like this the rest of my life. And that is the trigger for you waking up because something in you said, I'm not okay with the way things are. You might have not realized that you had an ego or that fear was a global operating system. Okay. And not all souls will because they're not ready. But beautiful, mature and old souls will suddenly start to wake up. And when that happens, things will start to change. There's something else I need to talk about. You bought into a narrative, and I want you to really think about this. Here's the narrative, and the narrative comes from the global operating system of fear. Work hard for your day's wage. You are stuck in a war of work and debt. Work, 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 debt, 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 debt. Work, 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 pay, 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 pay. You know, this is this cost, that cost. No, no, no. Oh, you're getting ahead. Ha, 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 ha. Let's take you back down. Okay, war of work and debt. Here's another narrative of the fear-based ego operating system. You need to create a product or a service and then get money for it. Okay, that's how you get money. That's how you survive. Now, here's another part of the narrative. Creative arts, you're going to be an artist, you're going to be a singer, you're going to be an actor. Really, no, nobody really makes it in that. I mean, very few. It's basically you're signing up for poverty and struggle. So don't I mean just be practical, get a practical job, work hard for your day's wage. Here's more of the narrative. Manifesting is just pseudoscience. Here's more. Take chemicals to get well. Forget that all those ancient texts also talk about healing with plants. Forget all that. Take chemicals. Chemicals surely will be much better. Make sure that you use chemicals also to kill germs and dirt and mess. Okay, and put chemicals, slather it all over your body, brush your teeth with it, wash your clothes with chemicals. It's great. Yeah. Eating fake food is just fine. I mean, you're sustaining your living. Hmm. Yeah. Forget about those fruit and vegetable things. Just drink it in a bottle, you know. Wealth makes you happy and better than and worthy. It's a narrative. That means wealth has power. It's a narrative. The ego causes rejection, judgment, and loneliness. Okay. And that equals you're not lovable. It's another piece of the narrative. I hate to say this, guys, but I'm going to. When we have ego as a global operating system, there are those who do know the secret, who do know that this narrative is bullshit, who do know how to make the money, who do know that manifesting is real, and they're not going to tell you about it. What has happened, and I'm not going to get into conspiracy theory because that doesn't pay for anyone to go down that rabbit hole. But the truth is, there is a small amount who want to keep this narrative going for power and control. And of course that happened. Of course that happened, guys. We're human. And if the ego isn't control and somebody found out how to monopolize on the ego, don't you think they're going to do it? Of course they did. And you bought into the damn narrative. These pieces that I just put down here are going to be very hard to erase. I want to help you to understand that there is a different way. I didn't put a slide for this. Here's the different way. Just being alive can bring you wealth. Because if you show up in this amazing beauty, you are going to have beauty attract to you. If you show up knowing that you are worthy of wealth just like anybody else, and you start to erase these narratives, wealth will come to you in a myriad of ways. Guys, I have had $52,000 just drop in my lap at one time. I've had like places I lived in glorious places for free alone. I didn't have to share with anyone. I just got my own place. I mean, you guys, the craziest stuff can come to you. Okay, if you understand, it's all a belief system. A lot of people think that wealth is going to cause you to become powerful and egoic, and it's going to keep you stuck in something. And the reality is this. If you bring wealth in when your soul has gone through breaking the narrative and doesn't operate from fear, but it operates from this beauty, you can have all the money you want and you're quiet about it. You don't shout it to the rooftops. Do you see all the money I have? You don't even have to drive a fancy car. You don't really care. You can do that. You could have nice things, have as many nice things as you want, but you're not boastful about it. Okay? You're quiet. You don't move into the perception that that makes you better because you know better. You know better. And when you want to do something great, you have the money to do it. Okay? You're not necessarily out trying to save the world with it and give all your money away because you're going to do something, because you also know everybody needs to be in their ego long enough to hit a place where they're going to rise above. And when they ask for help or are ready for help, then you can help them. Okay? But you can't enable. That's another whole long story. You got to stop the narrative. All of you beautiful healers, healing practitioners who are on this in this class, you keep buying into, I have to have a product to sell, and you're selling a core piece of you. What if there's just another way? Let money come in some other way. And my challenge for you, I think it was last class, was to say, please dream. If money weren't an issue, if society weren't an issue, what would you do? Guys, I have made an active choice in my life, an active choice, not to live the norm. I am the random atom. And people have told me my entire life, you can't just, that's not how it works. Even when I was a teacher, they were like, no, that's not how it works. And I'm like, I don't follow your rules. I didn't say that to them. I'm like, okay. And then I did things my way because I don't buy into the BS. My guides have been teaching me since I can remember. It's BS. You don't have to buy into it. When I quit my big state job and I sold my house and my boat and my car for enough to basically get to California and had no money, they said, you'll never make it. There are 67 registered healers and there are probably 200 that aren't registered. I made it and I made it big. It is, no, I chose not to believe the narrative. I chose not to believe what you think I should do. That takes courage. And I encourage you to have the courage. When things become unbearable, you have to ask yourself, will you change? Will you wake up? Will you remember who you really are? Please? Will you take the time to heal, have the courage to look within? Will you let go of suffering? Will you allow yourself to get out of your way enough to become abundant? Will you? I just want you to understand that this remembering, and it isn't anything more than remembering. If you think of everything that I just said about the narrative and you just don't make a decision about it, close your eyes later tonight, get into the very center of your mind, put on your helmet, and just listen. Is what she said true? I want you to feel into it because this isn't teaching you really. This is reminding you. You have a birthright to be abundant. Money, guys, is just energy. Don't give it power. Don't focus on the money. Don't focus on the outcome. Focus on being amazing. Amazing. Being in the now is everything, 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 everything. And I want to just help you to understand, guys, depression means you're stuck in the past. Anxiousness means you're stuck in the future. Peace, that means you're living in the now. And when you're in the center of your head and you open up, you're going to hear time and time again, everything's going to be okay. To remember, guys, take time to be still. Just take the time. Be still. Have the courage to look inside at your human conditioning that needs to heal if you need to, and seek help if you need to. Heal that human conditioning so that you can break free of the chains of lack and ego and narrative that isn't yours to live. And I want to leave you with this thought. Manifesting through remembering who you are is not new age. It's old truth. We're not new agey. We're just remembering an old truth. That's it. This has always been here. That's why I brought in the guy who brought in the 5 things that he learned from all those 190 texts. Old truths. So, ooh, we got a nice little group that came in here, I see. I guess a really small number, though. I can't see that. So, what I can say is this, is that you've heard a lot over the last now 6 classes, a lot, a lot, a lot. And when I mentioned this at the beginning, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, please, especially after hearing this kind of culmination, please go back. When you and give yourself a few days to let what I just put together for you absorb. And when it absorbs into you, allow yourself to go back and listen to those classes again. I, you will hear it completely different. Completely different. And think back to who you were when you're watching it, because it's you won't be the same person. What I say, and I put this in one of my books, and I said, once you realize that 1 and 1 is 2, you never again think it's 3. Okay, so this is that same thing. It's that uh, you can't unknow or unlearn a truth. You can't unlearn wisdom. So let this wisdom move into you. For those of you who joined us a little late tonight, I want to let you know this is our last class of manifesting. I will do other classes, but I think I've hit this, and I think it's time for you to cycle through them. And for those of you who didn't hear, we have almost 300 people now who have gone and watched the first class, and like 250 in the second, and then it's kind of trickling down as people are kind of cycling through them. And I love it. I'm so excited. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 6 classes and I'm going to put them on my YouTube channel and I'll put them in a playlist called Manifest Like a Master. All right. And then when I will listen to Source and I will ask for, let me know when I'm supposed to teach again. And hopefully it's soon and I can keep bringing some beautiful wisdom. If any of you have any topics you would like me to cover, speak now or forever hold your peace. Just kidding. Also, do you have any questions? So let me unpin myself and I'll see if anybody has questions. And I will see if anyone has any suggestions. So unmute yourself if you have anything to say. Why can't I unmute myself or unpin myself?
I had a
Oh,
question. I I just I've noticed in my life, like when I'm sort of like low vibration, it takes some momentum to get to like start to change and start to like raise your vibration. And you can't just go like low vibe to high vibe. You have to like work yourself up to like feeling better, feeling more high vibrational. I'm like sort of applying this to that concept that you said about the blue mist, where there's like all these points of lights that are connected to each other. I'm curious, like, if you're feeling low vibrational in your life in general, is that because you're in like an area of this mist that's sort of like a low vibe little puddle, and then you have to like move yourself to another like part of the mist to feel higher vibration, or it's like, how does that work?
oh no. So I want to tell you that I realized back in, it must have been May. I realized that I had gotten into a cycle of lack. And I was like, man, I know better. How did I end up here? What happened? And so I did a medicine journey in June, maybe June or July. And it's been since then that I have been going through this entire process again. And it takes a while to really, once you finally step in to your truth of who you are, this amazing soul that you are, it is like you just thrive. You rarely will have these down times, but you're gonna go up and down, up and down, up and down. But I want you to think of it like this. It's kind of like a scatter plot, a graph where you've got all these days, right? And they're here at the beginning, you're up, down, up, down, up, but it's going like this. You're going to have low days, but there's going to come a point where even your lower days are higher than your highest highs before. Okay, the trend is going up, and that is what will happen over time. Makes sense?
Yeah,
Any other?
absolutely. Yeah, it's like every time I have like a manifestation class, I feel like so high. I'm like, this is great, but like it does take a lot of energy. And so I'm like, then I forget and I fall into those like low patterns. I'm just like, my life sucks. This is horrible. It's like, come on, I can do something about this. So I think it's just like a matter of needing to remind myself more consistently to like stick with these practices.
Find your tools. There are some certain things that I do to make sure that I raise my vibration when I need. I will pick a page in the Tao Te Ching, and I might read it, or I might open up a page in the Course in Miracles, or I might listen to as someone like Esther Hicks. I might listen to her channeling, Abraham. I might listen to Wayne Dyer. I might, whatever these are. You could even listen to Neville Goddard. The voices are strange in his stuff, but it's still good information. But or like finding that guy who did the five truths. I love this stuff. I love, I like find things that inspire you, and I just listen to them. I take that time. I put my helmet on. Okay, I take that time for quiet. I actively release any ick in my body by sending it out of me like a big black cloud, and open up and say, you know what, God, bring this beautiful energy down. Align me with your energy. And I just feel gorgeous after that. Anything else? Hi, Jill. Anyone?
Hi,
Okay.
Kelly.
Hi, Mike.
Um, Kind of similar to what Yvonne was just saying. Um, I think toward the beginning of your manifestation classes, I was very much attempting to control, observe, force, like observation, reality, experience. Um, and there's become an observation of acceptance, like of my experience instead of a manipulation of it. And like the last week is different than the week before, which is different than the week before. But today, the me of 2 months ago or 2 years ago could have sniveled about circumstantial things I could focus on. And the me today was going, huh, this is kind of a bitchin' day, and this reason, and this reason, and this reason. And I went to the city to talk about planning, and I got the autistic guy that doesn't communicate well and doesn't I don't like or doesn't like me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I got home and I tried to open the links and it broke. I'm like, not the time apparently to do this. But instead of having a hissy fit about it, it's like, what am I missing? What am I going to get out of this? And I I think I'm starting to hear the win is not the result. The win is my experience of me and preferring it.
Yes. Yeah.
And
You'll get the win. It's just however long you need to kind of step into having the foundation that can absorb the win without becoming egoic.
grow into, not go into, I'm thinking.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
all.
Thank you, Mike, because and I'm glad that you share your experience because you will see this. You'll see just this shift in you over time and this is why I kept saying don't give up. Don't give up. Just keep going with this. And the more that every week that you add on to this, you get better and stronger and better and stronger. Anyone want to attest to that? No, it's always crickets. Okay. Well, I will leave it with this. I absolutely appreciate everyone who has shown up over the last 6 weeks and all the people who have watched the videos and who will be watching this. Uh, Happy manifesting. Ciao. Oh, wait. Oh, before you go, I forgot. I need to share my screen. There is a healer I want to highlight. I almost forgot. My goodness. Let me get rid of this, please. This is Clarissa Fishman. I had a tarot reading with her the other day. She works from distance. She is utterly amazing. She does tarot readings, but it's like tarot reading on steroids. And for me, I asked her for a reading because I was like, you know what? I just really feel like I need perspective. And she validated things for me. She brought things up I needed to see, and then just like there are just tons of cards. She's like, well, we did a Celtic cross, but here's not and this, it's amazing. She just is one of the best I've seen. So I wanted to highlight her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on our into our Facebook page, and she sent me a message. She has a group special for this group only. And she said she is happy to do $50 for a half hour and $100 for an hour. That's a really good rate. So just mention that you're in this class and get that $50, $100 rate. And I also just realized that there is a bunch of stuff in chat. So let me make sure that I covered that. see if there were other questions I was supposed to get to. Oh, I think this is just, okay, I think there's just thanks, which is wonderful. Okay, now I'll say, go and manifest like a master. Ciao, everyone. And Jamie, go have your baby.